Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You know, my new girlfriend works at the zoo. I think she's a keeper. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 10 games that just didn't get enough love. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so this list is a list of 10 games that I really think are solid, really good games that never were celebrated as much as they should have been. These are games that I think it's kind of a travesty they're not more well loved and more well respected and as played as some other games. Now this is of course an entirely subjective list, but these are games that I really like that needed more love, and maybe we can give them more love with this video. So first of all, I do want to talk a little bit about some honorable mentions. I got a couple here. First of all, Wings for the Baron from Victory Point Games. This was a game about World War I set in factories. Essentially, you were airplane industrialists. You were constructing airplanes for Germany during World War I, and you were competing, and you're trying to be the, you know, there's inflation, and there's all sorts of problems, so you're trying to make a profit, but you're trying to develop technologies. It was a really good game, and I hope we see a reprint of it sometime. It was a game, I don't think I've ever played a game that was quite like that in terms of theme and also mechanics. It was a balancing act between, you know, trying to invest in what you're building, but still make a profit. Very fun game. That was Victory Point Games. And then also, too, one from Hasbro, of all places. This was Battleship Galaxies. This came out about maybe, 12, 14 years ago, maybe thereabouts. But it was a really good game. And I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. But it's Battleship, but it's kind of space Battleship. And you were, when you were doing, you do the thing where you call out, you know, H7 or whatever. But you were rolling die, and you're trying to get, there's a critical spot that would blow up, but you're trying to get that. But it just had, you know, they had cool ships, and you use pegs. You wouldn't use pegs to mark like this the damage in the way you would in the basic Battleship game, but you'd use them to mark kind of shields or damage on the bases of the ships. But you'd maneuver them, and it was just a really good, fun space combat game. It had some cool looking ships, but it was really fun. I really liked it, and it's one of those games, like years ago I gave it away because I hardly ever played it, and I wished I hadn't, because I'd like to play it again, and it's out of print now. We need to get that one back in print. That is Battleship Galaxies. That was from Hasbro. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the actual list here. Okay, so my number 10 is Villainous Vikings. This was also from Victory Point Games. This is a great game where you were Vikings, you were competing, you're sailing around Europe. You had like ships that would take damage on them. You had different cards for different sections of the ship that would take damage. You would roll die. You'd have kind of like the swords and hammers and shields. Hammers, I think if I remember correctly, like hammers did like special abilities, but you're trying to get the most swords and overcome your enemy's shields. You're kind of playing toward, you know, kind of a Ragnarok scenario, but it was a really fun game. It was a really clever game. It's from the designer of War of Whispers, which is another just phenomenal game. I really would like to see Villainous Vikings be reprinted. I think that was the second edition I played. I'd like to see it come out again. It was a phenomenal game. That is Villainous Vikings. That was from Victory Point Games. That's my number 10. My number 9 is a game that, I'll be honest, I just recently got rid of because another game kind of took it out, but it was a game that for a long time I loved. And this was Sons of Anarchy, Men of Mayhem. Sons of Anarchy, Men of Mayhem was so cool because it was this hybrid of Eurogame, worker placement Eurogame, but it had combat. So it kind of had this strong theme. It was a real Ameritrash theme to it. And it was a great game that, again, you had the locations. You're going to locations. You're trying to get money and drugs and guns in order to win these battles. But it had these various turf wars. It was really fun. Now, Gale Force 9, which created it, they recently came out with Wise Guys, which is essentially a reskin. A few other little rules, but it's essentially a reskin. And I didn't keep them both. I kept Wise Guys, which is a great game too. But Sons of Anarchy, I always felt like it was a game that just never got the kind of love it deserved. And I think it was because of the theme. I think a lot of people who didn't watch the TV show said, well, why bother? And a lot of people that maybe were turned off by some of the... It was kind of gritty. I think we're turned off by that. Wise Guys is less so, so I think it's a little more accessible. But it was such a good game, and that was one I really wish more people had warmed up to. But that was Sons of Anarchy, Men of Mayhem. That is number 9. That is from Gale Force 9. Number 8 is a game which kind of surprises me given that its designer and the production of it, that it wasn't as loved as it was. This is The Godfather, Corleone's Empire from Come On. So it's an Eric Lang design, and it's got kind of set collection and area control and turf wars. And one of my favorite things about this game is just thematically is when you kill someone, you would put them in the river. You drop in the river. But you had different families. You had you had the leader. You had the consigliere. You kind of had thugs, and you're engaging these various battles as you're trying to gain these resources. And so it was kind of like worker placement with combat, and it was a pretty fun game. I loved the theme. I love the way it works out. I still got it on my shelf. I haven't played it in a while, but it's a great game that I felt like, in light of Blood Rage and Rising Sun, it never got the love it deserved. And I got to be honest, I'm probably going to take some heat from this. I like this game better than those games. In fact, I no longer have Rising Sun and Blood Rage. I've given them away. I think George and Holly have got my Blood Rage right now, and I kept Godfather because I liked the theme better, and I think it was just a more engaging game. I understand people loving Blood Rage and Rising Sun better, but I loved this one better. And I wish this one had gotten more attention. Great game. That is Godfather, Corleone's Empire from Come On. That's my number 8. My number 7 is one of those games that was a complete surprise. The company WizKids sent it out for me to review, and I was thinking, this is not one I'm going to enjoy. It didn't look interesting. It looked silly. And then I played it, and my friends and I were blown away. It is a super fun game, and it's a very funny game as well with the artwork and the characters that are presented, but it's a smart game. And this is OP Arena. Now, OP Arena is a dice game, essentially, but you have these different cards that can be anything. You got things from like zombies and fairies to sharks with lasers, or your like creepy uncle. They're all different kinds of characters in this game, and they've all got just these incredible abilities that come with the cards. And this game I couldn't believe it. We played this game once. We're like, well, let's play it again. And we couldn't stop playing it. In fact, I think I had like another game to review that night. I can't remember. I don't think we got to it because we were playing this one so much. And it was like I say, it's one of those rare games that's like funny that actually made me laugh. And it was just a good solid game because you got choices with your dice. What abilities do you want to trigger, and you have passive abilities, and it was really fun, and I really liked it. I don't think it's in print. I think this game is out of print, and it's really too bad because I really, 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 really liked OP Arena, and I really wish we would get this back. I hope somebody reprints it here at some point. But that is OP Arena. That was from WizKids. That is my number 7. My number 6 is also from WizKids. This is a game that has got a great IP, and I was surprised it wasn't embraced a little more than it was. And this is Batman Gotham City Strategy Game. Now, Batman Gotham City Strategy Game, players take on the roles of the villains. You're like Joker, Penguin, Riddler, etc. And you are going out, you're going to various locations trying to collect like money and other resources, and then like just out of the blue, Batman can come up and attack you, and you're trying to manipulate the board so that you're less likely to get caught by Batman, and he's going to screw you over because it's Batman, right? But it was kind of fun to play that game from the criminal's point of view and have Batman come after you. A good kind of, again, it's very Euro-y, but it's got a very strong Batman theme. Really enjoyed it. This is Batman Gotham City Strategy Game. That's from WizKids, and that is my number 6. My number 5 is a game from Fantasy Flight Games. Now, I've said many times on this channel, if you're not a stranger to the channel, you know one of my favorite games of all time is Battlestar Galactica. Probably my 3rd favorite game of all time is Battlestar Galactica. Some of the best experiences I've had playing games is Battlestar Galactica. But of course, after Battlestar Galactica went off the air, Fantasy Flight lost the IP to it, and we've got just last year, of course, Unfathomable. But several years ago, I think 2016, they were trying to find the successor to Battlestar Galactica, and they didn't just do a straight reskin. They came up with a new game that had some similarities to it, and this is New Angeles. New Angeles was a great game that was kind of cyberpunk. It was set in the Android Netrunner universe, but it was where you were trying to players are kind of working together to kind of manipulate the board and create conditions good for business. Every round you're voting on proposals, so this is a strong, strong negotiation game. It's all about negotiation. You're seeing, okay, whose proposal is going to get accepted. One player lays down a proposal, somebody lays down a counter proposal, and whoever gets the proposal is going to get benefits from that. But critically, one player is a hidden traitor. You're all like these like uber capitalists, but one player is secretly working for the government, trying to kind of undermine everybody else. And what's cool about it too is the players are not competing against everybody else. They're competing, of course, against the hidden traitor, but they're also competing against only one specific other player that is a secret. Nobody knows but that player who they're competing against. And to win the game, they just have to get a higher score. So potentially, everybody could lose. Or potentially everybody but one could win. And it was a very smart game, and I thought it was very well done, and I love negotiation in games, and I thought this one was just a solid game. So that is number 5. That is New Angeles from Fantasy Flight Games. My number 4 is a game from AEG. It was part of the Tempest series. It's a Euro. It's one of my favorite Euro games. And I'm not a big Euro game guy, but I really like this one. This is Dominaire. So Dominaire is set in the Tempest world, which was kind of the shared universe of games that AEG had about 10 years ago. And the idea with Dominaire is you're trying to control sections of the city, right? You've got canals. It's kind of like Venice. And then you have these kind of islands with different sections of the city and different buildings in the city, and you're trying to place your cubes to control it. But other players are constantly trying to take control, and you're trying to spread your cubes, but they're trying to take it away from you. And the more sections you control give you different abilities. And what's really cool is you each get, I think, over the course of the game, it's like 7 rounds, you get like 7 cards, and you play these cards in front of you to form a tableau, and they have, if they're, depending on the slot they're in, certain abilities are going to trigger on that card. When those abilities trigger, you can use these really cool things, but only at certain times. It's really cool. I really like Dominaire. It's one of those games that I just really surprised me people didn't take to, because it is solid and it is mean. It's one of the meanest games I own. One of the meanest games I own, and it's great. So this is Dominaire. That is my number 4, and that was from AEG. My number 3 is another WizKids title. This is a game, a strong IP game, that again I think just puts you into the IP in a way that few games do. This is Star Trek Fleet Captains. Star Trek Fleet Captains is Star Trek in a box. I mean, more than any other Star Trek game, this feels like the TV show. This feels like you're playing Star Trek, because you're going out, you're exploring, you're finding strange new worlds, you're battling Klingons. You've got, it's hero click, so you can like adjust your power curve. What do you want to put into shields, into weapons, into propulsion, and you're doing all these things. But you can get sucked into black holes, and you can explore neutron stars, and like I say, you can meet all sorts of new and exciting aliens in this game. It's very well done, but I know there's a crowd that really likes this, but I'm surprised it didn't take on more. And again, I think those IP games sometimes, as much as they're a gateway for people, they're a barrier, because if you're not someone that's particularly interested in Star Trek, maybe you wouldn't like this one as much. But it's not my favorite Star Trek game. I probably don't think it's my favorite Star Trek game, but to me it's the most evocative of Star Trek. Highly recommend Star Trek Fleet Captains. Tremendously fun, and again, a game that just never got as much love as I think it deserves. So that's from WizKids, and that is my number 3. My number 2 is a game that came out again about 10 years ago, and this is Leviathans from Catalyst Game Labs. Now, I just saw recently they're kickstarting a new version of it. So we are getting Leviathans back. So this is a good thing, because Leviathans is awesome. Leviathans is this game set in kind of an alternate history where the powers of Europe had developed heavier than air battleships. So essentially it's steampunk. You've got these floating battleships, they're like dirigible battleships, and they're shooting at each other in the air. They can fire torpedoes in the air. They got guns in the air. But what's cool about it is, it's got hexes, and you're maneuvering the bases along hexes. So it's kind of a naval game. But you've got a dry erase board, and so when somebody scores a hit, you're like crossing damage off of a dry erase board. It's a great war game, a great naval tactical combat game of naval kind of these naval airships. And again, it's one that just never took off. They made the core game, and I think they made a couple of factions, like because the core game comes with the British and the French, and I think they made like the Germans, or pardon me, yeah, I think they made the Germans and the Italians, and I thought they were talking about they're going to make a bunch more, and just it never really developed. So, but it's such a good game, such a strong game, and I'm super excited to see that they are doing a new Kickstarter and a new version of it, because this game needs more love. It certainly deserved more love than it got. It had a great theme, great gameplay, and it just never quite caught on the way I was hoping it would. So that is Leviathans from Catalyst Game Labs. That is my number 2. Finally, my number 1, and I mentioned this game a lot, and I've had this in a lot of my top 10 lists lately for various reasons. But my number 1 game here is a game that is just one of my absolute favorites that just never caught on. I think it's still in print, but I don't know. It's a game that is just solid. It delivers, and every time I play it, I got a big grin on my face. It's a relatively simple game, but it is one of those games with a lot of choices, a lot of screwing people over, and a lot of fun. This is also from AEG. This is Courtier. Courtier is a game of area control where you are attempting to fulfill petitions. You want to fulfill these petitions, but in order to fulfill the petitions, you need to gain the confidence of the Queen's courtiers. Now, the courtiers are on the board, and you may have like artists, like jewelers and painters or whatever. You could have military men like admirals. You would have, senators or people in the church or the royal family. And they've each got spaces for cubes beside them. And you want to fill up those spaces, and you need to control the majority of those spaces in order to influence that courtier. Now, you're playing cards that allow you to place cubes, but you're also playing other cards that allow you to kind of manipulate cubes and move cubes around. So again, it's a very mean game, because you might think you've got everything positioned so you can score a petition, and then somebody plays a card that screws up your plans. Very fun, and it's a game you're laughing constantly because you're screwing each other over, but it's awesome. It's tremendous fun. This was part of the Tempest series, as was Dominaire. The original Love Letter that AEG produced was part of the Tempest series as well. Tremendous game, Courtier. I cannot recommend it enough. And again, for as fun as it is, as much as I love this game, I just felt like it never got the recognition it deserved. So that is Courtier, my number 1 from AEG. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm interested to hear what you would put on a list like this. What games do you think didn't get enough love? Please let me know in the comments. I'm always excited to hear about it and learn about new games, new and exciting games. And then please, of course, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, leave comments for us. We'd love to hear it. Check out my other channel, Cody Carlson PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history, fun stuff like that. And then also, please, I'll probably post this to Board Game Geek. Please give a thumb to this as well on Board Game Geek. I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of girlfriends, as I did at the beginning of the video, you should never, ever laugh at your girlfriend's choices. Remember, you're one of them. Please somebody help me.